Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. It's that time of the weekend, it's Premier League predictions time. Another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League games is almost upon us as the games are coming thick and fast. We are well and truly within the run-in right now. We are counting down the days till the end of the season, and we've got another round of Premier League action almost upon us. That is going to affect the entirety of the Premier League table as we currently know it. A lot of games to feast our eyes upon and to sink our teeth into, and this is of course the video where we talk about the games, analyse them, and of course I give my predictions on how I think each and every single game will go this weekend. Before we get into all of that though, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. Get involved in the comment section down below as well. Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, predictions, because this, after all, people, is a Premier League predictions video. So your predictions will make for great and interesting reading, I'm sure, in the comment section, which is why I do encourage you to use it. Talk to me, people. Would love to hear from you all. But without further ado, let's go on with the video. Let's go on the predictions. And first and foremost, we are going to Selhurst Park, the game that is going to kick off the entirety of the weekend. It is Crystal Palace taking on Manchester City, and I've gone with a comfortable 3-1 win in favour of Pep Guardiola's side here. Palace, I think, will score. I think that they do have the capabilities of scoring, particularly against a Manchester City side that are quite vulnerable defensively, as shown in recent weeks and recent games. But in saying that, I think that's as far as the success of Crystal Palace will go in this particular game. I see the likes of Phil Foden, who is in sparkling form. I see the likes of Erling Haaland, who will be keen to put his doubters and the recent criticism he has received to rest in this game, firing on all cylinders, and that is why I expect City to go on and win this game, and of course go on to increase the pressure on the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool, who will be playing after City this weekend, and we've got some interesting games for both of those sides. It's a very good start for Manchester City, a very favourable start for Manchester City, for them to get the ball rolling this weekend in terms of another round of the title contenders that be this season, City, Arsenal and Liverpool. So a big weekend ahead for both of these sides. For Palace, they can see it as a bit of a free swing, but they do need to get points on the board. But for City, I don't see any issue in them winning this game and increasing the pressure on their title rivals. So that is that as far as that game is concerned, as far as what I'm concerned, as far as my prediction goes. Next up, we're at Villa Park for Aston Villa taking on Brentford. Big game this one for both of these sides, because one is chasing Champions League football, the other is trying to stare off relegation. Big clash, this one, but I've gone with a 2-1 win in favour of Aston Villa, simply for the reason that Aston Villa are the home side. I know that they are missing a few key players. I know that they rested some midweek. I know that obviously they'll want to get back to winning ways after that pretty poor display against Manchester City and that pretty heavy defeat to Manchester City. And whilst Brentford will be tough opposition, whilst this could be a very underrated game to watch, a very exciting game to watch between these two sides, with Villa maybe taking the stranglehold and lion's share of possession, but Brentford looking to hit them on the counter-attack and maybe play against the high line that Aston Villa tend to play. It could be very intriguing. It could be a very intriguing battle, one that I think Aston Villa will just about edge out overall in this. I think mainly due to maybe having a bit more firepower up front, maybe having a bit more of a clinical edge up front. Not that I'm saying Brentford don't, I'm just saying with a home crowd behind them as well, I think Aston Villa, with the extra incentive of obviously chasing Champions League football, will get the job done. They also need to get the job done because they dropped a few points in recent weeks, dropped a few points midweek as well, and they can't really afford to continue to do that, not while Spurs are breathing down their neck, and of course Manchester United looms somewhere in the background. So it's a massive week for Aston Villa. It's a favourable tie for Aston Villa given the inconsistency of Brentford this season, but one that I would expect Villa to pass with a win here. Next up, a big relegation clash between Everton and Burnley is a game that I see Burnley winning. Goodison Park will play host to Everton against Burnley. Massive relegation battle, and I've gone with a 2-1 victory to Burnley in this one. I think they may just have more firepower. Everton don't score enough goals. Defensively, they're pretty solid. But going forward, they just lack goals. Maybe the goal midweek for Dominic Calvert-Lewin may give him the boost of confidence needed to maybe take something from this game. Of course, with the home crowd, the home advantage, it is entirely possible that Everton could get something from this game and maybe even a win and a big 3 points that would help them towards their survival bid. But in saying all of that, you know, Burnley in recent weeks have actually put together a couple of good results, and I think that will carry them through. They'll have the momentum there, and this is a massive relegation 6-pointer. So for either one of these sides, if they can win, it will be huge for them. It will be absolutely huge for them. I think if Burnley win, it will make things a bit more interesting down at the bottom of the table, and that's why again, that may be the extra incentive as to why I have gone with a Burnley win. But overall, I think Burnley may just about get the edge over Everton in this one. Next on, we're moving on to Fulham versus Newcastle at Craven Cottage, and I, for one, have had very difficulty predicting this one because these two teams seem to really hate me. No matter what I predict for either of these two sides, because of the inconsistency levels of both of them, it's very difficult to predict which way the outcome of this game will go, or any game that these two teams feature in. I've gone with a 3-1 win to Newcastle. I think with the form of Alexander Isak in particular, I think Newcastle will get the job done. But these two teams, every time I predict them to win, they tend to let me down. And as we know, Fulham can be quite difficult at home, and obviously Newcastle can be pretty poor away from home this season. So I very much don't know which way this game is going to go. I had to lay a prediction on the line, and I've simply gone with the form of Alexander Isak. Fulham will want to bounce back from that pretty embarrassing midweek defeat against Nottingham Forest, in which not a lot of people probably would have predicted Forest to come out with the win in that one. And as for Newcastle, well, they probably had a very favourable chance of getting another 3 points on the board. Back-to-back wins this week after beating West Ham last weekend against Everton. But of course, they dropped points in that one as well. So it's a big weekend. It's going to be a big and interesting clash, and it is going to be one that I'm going to say Newcastle get the win in, and obviously push towards a late charge for European football, regardless of what level that may be for next season. But it still should be a win for Newcastle, nonetheless. Next up, Luton Town against Bournemouth at Kenilworth Road is going to be a very exciting and intriguing clash, this one. Luton obviously battling relegation. Bournemouth maybe performing a late push for European football, and that would be incredible for the Cherries this season if they were to go on to achieve that, or even just to be in the conversation for it. It's phenomenal enough, given the fact that a lot of people, myself included, I hold my hands up in this one, said that they would be relegation candidates for this season. So big season for Bournemouth, and it could end up being a big end to the season for Bournemouth as well. Intriguing, exciting clash. We know that obviously Luton have given some of the bigger teams of the Premier League a big run for their money at home. We know that they're going to battle for everything that they have, and anything that they have left is going to be laid on the line in the run into the end of the season. So this one could be a bit of a banana skin for Bournemouth. If they don't take it seriously, they very well could slip up here. I've gone with a 2-2 draw. I just have a sense and a feeling that Luton will be able to get something from this game and put it towards their survival bid. As for Bournemouth, though, it wouldn't surprise me if the likes of Dominic Solanke really turn up in this one to really put Luton to the sword and get the 3 points that they desperately need. So it wouldn't surprise me with a Bournemouth win, but I have a sneaky feeling Luton will be able to get something from this game, and that's why I've gone for down the middle, gone for the points to be shared, and I've gone with a draw come the final whistle here. Wolves against West Ham is next on the agenda, and I've gone with a 2-1 win to David Moyes' side. Now, I like Gary O'Neill. I think he's done a fantastic job this season, but for the past couple of results, they haven't exactly been great for Wolves. Losing last week to Aston Villa, drawing midweek to Burnley. It's not been great as far as what they're concerned, and I think it may continue here. Now, don't get me wrong, Wolves have the potential to turn it up, and especially against the most awkward teams of the league, they tend to be awkward themselves. West Ham, on the other hand, you know, a draw against Tottenham midweek, a loss last week against Newcastle. The inconsistency continues to shine for David Moyes, but the one thing that we will say is that he tends to get results when many people don't really back him to. So again, it's a very inconsistent, very weird game of football, this one, between two sides that are going to be, well, I imagine Wolves will take the lion's share of possession, being at home. West Ham will be happy to sit back and counter-attack, as they usually tend to do. So it could be an intriguing clash of styles. It could be an intriguing battle in that respect. But one I think that maybe the firepower of the likes of Mohamed Kudus, Jared Bowen and Mikel Antonio may be able to turn in West Ham's favour. I think the extra firepower may just tip the scales in West Ham's favour a little bit more than what they would. And that is why I have overall gone with the victory to West Ham in this one. Next up, for our Saturday evening viewing, we have got action from the Amex Stadium as Brighton take on Arsenal. We saw that Brighton last weekend gave Liverpool a pretty tough game, in all things considered, with a 2-1 loss against the Reds there, and Arsenal are just flying right now. They have performed a defensive masterclass against Manchester City in a goalless draw there. They performed a very solid professional 2-0 win against Luton in midweek, and I'm expecting another 2-0 win here against Brighton. Now, of course, we know that Brighton can turn up the style. We know that they can turn up the flair. We know that they can turn up the challenge on anyone and anyone. On everyone and anyone in the Premier League. We know that they can play some beautiful football at times. We know that they can tear teams apart, but we just haven't seen that enough this season. And coming up against the best defence in the league right now, I'm not expecting them to perform any miracles. I'd love it if they did. I would love it if Brighton could take points off of Arsenal in this game, because it would help my team out in the title race, but unfortunately I can't see it happening, and I think Brighton will fall victim to Arsenal, and Arsenal will get the job done in a professional manner. I don't think it will be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I expect it to be one of them games in which maybe Arsenal go ahead just before half time. The game is still hanging in the balance, and then Arsenal's quality will shine through the later the game goes on. They control the game, and then they go on and put the game to bed pretty late on. So that's my prediction for this game overall, and now I'm going to say Arsenal win this game by 2-0. But if Brighton can perform a bit of a shock and a bit of an upset here, that would be very, very welcome from this particular Liverpool fan. So if you can do that, Brighton, would love you to do it. And hopefully last week against Liverpool and obviously midweek against Brentford have sharpened your tool set, so to speak, for this game, and maybe you can go on and get something from this game. But no, I think Arsenal will get the job done in a professional manner and continue to heap the pressure on the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City, who I expect City to obviously win, as stated earlier. Sunday's games, first up, we have got action from Bramall Lane as Sheffield United play host to Chelsea. This could be huge, and this could be a huge opportunity for Sheffield United to get the win here. I know I've gone with a Chelsea win because I can't see it happening any other way than a Chelsea win. But it isn't out of the realms of possibility to think that the home crowd advantage, a very nervous Chelsea side, a Chelsea side that couldn't even beat 10 men Burnley last weekend, despite being a goal to the good at that point, may suffer again, may slip on another banana skin in the form of relegation battling Sheffield United. Now, I must point out this video is being recorded before Thursday, and before Thursday night's games. So the Liverpool versus Sheffield United game hasn't played out yet. The Chelsea versus Manchester United game hasn't played out yet at the time of recording. So I must point that out before I continue. But this game could have all the makings of an upset. Sheffield United could go on and beat Chelsea, or take a point off Chelsea. A loss or a draw is unacceptable for Chelsea's standards and for Chelsea's point of view here. But it very well could happen. It very well could happen. Chris Wilder could pull off a defensive masterclass, and maybe Sheffield United then go on to steal something on the counter-attack, steal something from a set piece. It very well could happen. Very well could happen. I've gone with 3-1 Chelsea. I've gone with the favourites. I've gone with the individual talent and quality shining through for Chelsea. But I'm not entirely confident. And I never am with Chelsea results. I think they'll heap more pressure and more misery on Sheffield United. But at the same time, Sheffield United could easily do the same to them as well. I've gone with 3-1 Chelsea, but I'm not entirely confident. I'm not entirely confident on this whatsoever, but we shall see how it goes. Next up is Tottenham, Nottingham Forest. We're jumping a little bit ahead, but Tottenham, Nottingham Forest, because Sunday's games are organised pretty weirdly. Tottenham, Nottingham Forest. I've gone with 3-1 to Spurs in this one. I think Spurs will have the attacking quality to put Nottingham Forest to the sword. I think Forest will get something because it is A, Forest, and B, it is the high line of Spurs that I think the likes of Anthony Elanga in particular maybe can exploit if he's going to be fit enough. I just can't see this being any other way. I want to say Forest win, and I want to say that they make the relegation battle a bit more interesting and, you know, get a few more points here and there, and maybe Spurs make the Champions League places interesting by dropping points. But I can't see it happening any other way. I think that Spurs midweek defensively were sound going forward. They looked a bit blunt. Fair credit and fair play to West Ham for doing that and obviously hampering Spurs' attacking intent. But I expect it to be back this week, and I expect them to fancy their chance of getting a few goals against Nottingham Forest. Putting the pressure again on Aston Villa that are above them. Aston Villa should win their game admittedly, but just in case that they don't, Tottenham could have a real good opportunity here of taking advantage of that. If they don't, and Aston Villa win, if this is a banana skin that Tottenham are going to fall upon, it could be very awkward for their Champions League hopes going forward. Assuming that obviously fifth place doesn't get the Champions League spot that we assume it may will, but we don't exactly know as of right now. So this is a must-win game for Spurs. It is a must-take professionally game as well for Forest. I don't expect them to win, but then again, when has that stopped them before? I've gone with 3-1 to Spurs. Should be a big win for Ange Postecoglou's side. And finally, in what I believe to be the biggest game of this round of fixtures, the main event of this upcoming weekend of Premier League football, we are at Old Trafford for Manchester United versus Liverpool. And if you remember, not so long ago, we were at Old Trafford for these two teams clashing in the FA Cup, and Manchester United ended up winning that particular game. Now, that game was over extra time, was over the course of 120 minutes, and Liverpool petered the game out a little bit, and obviously Erik ten Hag gambled, and the gamble paid off significantly to the point where they have got a very good opportunity now of making it through to an FA Cup final. Fast forward a few weeks, and the draw at Brentford last week has somewhat been a bit of a reality check to those of Manchester United. Obviously, tonight's game against Chelsea could be absolutely anything, given the way that those two teams have performed across the entirety of the season so far. This could be a very intriguing battle. For United, I'm expecting a better performance than what they did at Brentford. I'm expecting a very similar performance to what happened in the FA Cup. I'm expecting the atmosphere to be at an all-time high. I'm expecting those Manchester United fans to want to demand that they win this game in order to thwart and put a massive dent in the title charge of Liverpool going forward. The crowd will certainly be up for it. It is obviously the biggest game of their season. It's the biggest game of the English footballing calendar. It's probably the biggest footballing game maybe in the world, to be honest, with El Clasico not maybe being as what it was, but this is a massive, monumental game for both of these sides. Like I say, for United, it's all about putting a dent in Liverpool's title charge and obviously trying to keep their hopes alive of qualifying for Champions League football, whether it be through the fingers crossed hopeful 5th place position or maybe the more guaranteed 4th place position that currently Aston Villa occupy, of course. Whilst for Liverpool, it will be all about maintaining their position at the top of the table, if they are obviously going to still be there. At the time of recording, they are 2nd, but we are expecting them to beat Sheffield United tonight, of course. So the hope is that obviously they don't drop any more points if they for whatever reason embarrassingly do so tonight. They'll want to obviously get one over on their rivals, and of course Jurgen Klopp will want to leave Liverpool at the end of the season with the knowledge that he went to Manchester United's backyard and in his final game absolutely wiped the floor with them. I'm hoping that will be the case. I'm hoping we're going to see a lot more of a sharper Liverpool side than what we saw in the FA Cup. I don't know whether or not Erik ten Hag will gamble as much as what he did in the FA Cup, with obviously the FA Cup being a one-off game, could kind of throw a bit more caution to the wind, or whether or not he'll be a bit more conservative given the fact it is a league game, or whether or not he'll just stick to the tried and tested that he did before. It's going to be very interesting to see how Man United approach this. Liverpool, we know, are going to approach it in the same way that they approach every game. And I'm really hoping that they can really put Man United to the sword. I am a bit concerned by this, obviously given recent history. I am a bit concerned by, of course, this being Manchester United. I'm a bit concerned by the way that we're at Old Trafford. I'm a bit concerned by the fact that the fans are going to be up for this one, and that the potential of the United players feeding off of that energy may make some of those Liverpool players a little bit nervous going forward, as it did in the FA Cup. But I'm hoping that they learnt from their past mistakes. I'm hoping that they're going to be a lot more sharper going forward, and I'm hoping that they really, really do wipe the floor with Manchester United in this one, which is why I have gone for the 3-1 victory in favour of Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp's side to maintain their strong Premier League charge going forward. Fingers crossed that that will be the case for the next few days. After tonight's game and obviously after Sunday's game as well. So massive games coming up in the Premier League this weekend. None more bigger than that. Fingers crossed for Liverpool to get the job done against Erik ten Hag's side there. But that's all. Yeah, that's all from me. Those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all the games that are coming up this weekend? Another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League action. Would love to know what you guys think and feel. Your thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, predictions will make for great and interesting reading down below. So please do get involved, people. Would love to hear from you all on all the games that are coming up this weekend. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. Oh, sorry, Premier League predictions video. And I will see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the football. And I'll see you all again very, very soon.